Elon Musk and Tesla executives made a number of announcements this weekend. First, Fox host Lara Trump made a video of the inside of Tesla's Gigafactory, and we get to see how the Model Ys and Cybertrucks are made. It's mind-boggling to see how the cars drive themselves inside the factory and then outside. Elon confirmed that the robotaxi launch is just 1 month away. Second, we'll also watch interviews of 3 Tesla employees who share what it's like to work there and how the employees think of Elon. Third, Elon made a comment about how important and what to expect with Tesla's free cash flow. Fourth, he also then reiterated how the factory is the product and explained what are the 3 things he thinks really matters. Finally, we'll share some spy shots of never before seen unusual looking castings at Giga Texas. Is this the front end of the Cybercab? We got Jeff Lutz here, the ex-CVP of Supply Chain and Chief Quality Officer. He's now CEO of his own supply chain consulting firm. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, Herbert. Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff here to go through. A lot of stuff coming on. Let's go through it.
Watch some videos of inside the factory. We're going to see the cars driving themselves and lots of good things here. So let's get started with this. Tesla North America said, we make the most American-made cars that drive themselves from the end of the production line to the outbound logistics lot and then continues to drive themselves anywhere you want under your supervision. But let's watch this little clip here to see this.
Model Y, the most American-made car in the U.S.
And these are brand new. These have just been made and are rolling off the factory line.
Yes. We just kicked off. The cars now drive themselves from the end of the production line over to the ship out logistics lot by themselves.
These cars are going to drive themselves. Look at this. There it goes.
Yeah, right here.
Nobody's in there. Wow. That's amazing. That is so cool. Only Elon Musk could do this.
Yeah, that's the first time I think we saw the cars not only driving out in the parking lot, but inside the factory. And then Elon himself said this, everyday autonomy that works. What's your thoughts on that, Jeff?
Well, this is Tesla AI entering the factory. I think it's going to enter in. So this is call it the distribution side, or the outbound from quality to the distribution lot. It will continue from there. I believe these cars, obviously they're going to go on trailers to go to far out destinations, but I believe the local destinations, at some point, Tesla will just allow them to drive to the consumer's home. And I believe once these things reach various, Tesla delivery centers, I'm sure when that feature is available, they'll be able to drive from there to people's homes. It'll be very unique experience, but it's actually taking cost out at the same time. So this is again Tesla AI entering the factory, and there's no reason, if you can get this car to drive autonomously in multiple countries, multiple streets, and it's a generalized solution, there's no reason why it couldn't drive in the factory. It also shows you where they think FSD is, because this is the highest value of the vehicle, is that outbound portion. Is you definitely don't want to do anything. You don't want a rock to hit it. You don't want a scratch. You don't want anything to happen. So it tells you just how much faith they have in their solution, that they've just turned this on.
So glad, by the way, that you're here today, Jeff. Appreciate you. With your background, the theme of the show today, we're going to show you videos of inside the factory. We're going to show you the Cybercab castings. We're going to show you other comments that Elon made today that are all about, right? Efficiency, cost reduction, cash flow. Very curious to see your analysis of that.
Yep.
So we've got Tesla Economics saying this. He said, less than 1 month away till Tesla's full self-service, full self-driving, full service, no human driver, 100% autonomous, unsupervised FSD robotaxis launch in Austin, Texas. I'm so hyped. And the reason I show that is Elon Musk actually replied saying it's going to be super cool. Elon also changed his X account to Gorklon Rust. And this image of Gork is a AI that's a parody account of Grok. And Rust is the programming language that they use or something like that. I don't know. He's just having fun.
We're used to this by now. Yeah, no, it's it's coming. It's imminent, and it looks like every indication from Tesla is that they're on track. So yeah, this will be something that they'll start and then they'll scale up. As they get good reps in with real consumers, they'll scale it up pretty quickly.
Just wanted to show that it's actually still on track. And even today, Elon's still saying it's happening. Okay, so let's go watch this video. They invited Lara Trump, a Fox host, to get inside Texas Gigafactory. She also interviewed Elon. But we get to see inside the factory, which has been a while since we've done that. And let's take a look at that video. And then every once in a while, Jeff, just pause and tell us anything that you see here.
Welcome back to My View. I couldn't leave Texas without getting a closer look at the fascinating work being done at Tesla, while the world is busy taking aim at its CEO. From the showroom to the factory floor, the technology at work is groundbreaking. And I was lucky enough
doing
to get
self-test
a
right there.
seat.
Wow.
This is where
through the whole
actually
factory.
all happens, right? What are we seeing in here?
This is the machine that builds the machine.
It really
So
is.
here at Giga Texas, we make Model Ys and Cybertrucks.
Okay.
So this side of the factory is mostly Model Y, and we're currently walking into the middle of Cybertruck. Yeah.
And I have to say, this facility is so clean. I feel like I've never been in a space, a sort of a manufacturing type location where it feels so clean.
Two tricks on manufacturing I've always learned is you can't fix quality from a conference room, and happy people build good cars and trucks. And so people like a nice, clean place to work in. So now Model Y, the most American-made
Oh, is that it?
car
Okay.
in the U.S.
And these are brand new. These have just been made and are rolling off the factory line.
Yes. We just kicked off. The cars now drive themselves from the end of the production line over to the ship out logistics lot by
These
themselves.
cars are going to drive themselves. Look at this. There it goes.
Yeah, right here.
Nobody's in there. Wow. That's amazing. That is so cool. Only Elon
Herbert,
Musk can do this.
The first
A couple of
product was
things.
Model Y.
I'm going to be interested to see, if there's updated stickers on these cars, just what their U.S. Mexico content is, because what Tesla announced in the last month was that, and I think it was part of the earnings call, that they achieved this in Q1, is that it's all domestic batteries now in their products. So I think a lot of the reporting that's been out there about Tesla content is actually going to go higher. And I think there's some information that says, because right now it looks like the way the trade agreements are being conducted and the way the tariffs are being conducted is that as long as you're making something in Mexico or Canada, part of USMCA, that's not deemed a critical component. So something like an engine, a transmission, which is not in a electric vehicle per se, but it's not the electric motor, for example. It's something critical. It's a smaller valued part that they're basically going to allow those in under USMCA without the 25% tariff on. So we need to get some clarification of this, but it looks like if you look at it instead of just pure US content, if you look at it as USMCA content, that's even going to be a bit higher. So anyway, I think Tesla's go back to big picture, relatively the best shape as it relates to this. And I just want to touch upon that comment because he said, most American-made vehicles, and that's true, and that's very difficult to do. It's extremely difficult to do, and you're going to hear companies that say, "I'm announcing I'm moving my factory." For example, Kia, Hyundai announced, and they've opened, at least at small volumes. They just started their Georgia plant. It's going to take them years, though, to get the surrounding supply base. So they're going to be tariffed on input parts, at that 25%, unless they're USMCA approved parts. They're going to be tariffed at that 25% if there's parts coming from Asia and so forth. So this is really difficult. What you just said, that one little comment, it is very difficult to do. I also do like the comment around you can't fix quality from a conference room. That is very true. You have to be out there in the process, seeing things real time. So anyway, this is they do a really good job on this tour. They really hit a lot of the right, not only just talking points, but this is how Tesla does business. So we can keep it going, keep the video going.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah.
And so this building went up. I think Elon quotes it as the quickest construction project since World War II.
And I heard Elon Musk told me this building is 3 times the size of the Pentagon. Is that
Yes,
right?
you can put 3 pentagons inside this building.
Wow.
So this is what we call WAHA, which is headlight and wheel alignment. And then they come over to the final, we put an aero shield at the bottom of the car that helps with to get more mileage for aerodynamics. And so that's the final step here. And then they go here to where we just saw them leave and drive over to the logistics lot.
Amazing.
And then they get on a truck and go to customers.
All right, what else do we have?
Well, we're going to go down some Cybertruck lines and show you some more of the
Love
process.
a Cybertruck. Let's go. When I first saw a Cybertruck, I think everybody has the same reaction. You've never seen anything on the road like it. And I think so many people thought that it was, first I think people thought, I don't know, that's kind of ugly. And then people really kind of love them now.
Oh, once you get inside of it and just get to experience it, it's the coolest machine ever. You could go four-wheeling in the back 40 and then get on the highway and just do 0 and 60 in like no time flat, which is awesome. Another really good thing about Tesla is like we're very vertically integrated. So what that means is like we build our own seats, we build our own motors, we build our own battery packs, we build our own cells that go into the battery packs. And so, you know, it's always great things to learn about like lean manufacturing. You can reduce your inventory to help drive costs, but probably the biggest gift that gives you is the ability to go quickly on things and change things.
You don't have to wait. There's no supply.
Yeah, you said a couple of things around, obviously around vertical integration and helping them to go more quickly. But companies that aren't vertically integrated, well, where are the parts? They're at different suppliers under different management. They have different priorities. You're not their only customer. Also, if you have to make a change on, you know, let's say you're finding some sort of fit issue or some sort of dimensional issue on, you know, the electric motors that are built there. If most companies use an external supplier, they would have to go out to that external supplier. They have to get product. They have to crate it up. They'd have to ship it back. They'd have to get somebody from their plant maybe over to look at it in Texas. You know, you'd have this long drawn out thing with material basically going back and forth and people going back and forth. Here, everything's under one roof. And with Tesla using the 4680 and he said building the cell and the battery pack there, that's another unique thing that's going to be unique to Tesla and not to the other, none of the manufacturers are actually doing this down to the cell level and then bringing it all the way up into the vehicle there. Building the seats, I think they have two options. I think some of the seats they do internally, some of them they do for overflow. I think they do use a couple of suppliers, but the point is with vertical integration is it's not only control, it's not only you can get the lowest price because you're not having to pay a margin out as long as you can get your volumes up, but it's also that element of speed and making changes and how to make the process better, how to make the part better, how to make it cheaper, and everything. When you're in a supplier relationship versus a vertical integration relationship, when you're the supplier and you're coming up with cost reductions, you have to have some transparency, but you're trying to put as many as you're in your own pocket as possible. So if you could save, you know, $1 on a $20 assembly and you can get 5% deflation over 6 months, you're typically trying to pocket, you know, 80% of that. And then when Tesla comes and asks for a cost reduction, you say, well, here, I've got 20 cents I can give you of the dollar. And then they're like, okay, well, that's great. I got a price down. But when you're vertically integrated, you take everything to the bottom line. You also take the bad side of it too. So if you have the downsides of being vertically integrated and the downsides of even internal manufacturing is you have to deal with your own ebbs and flows of demand. So if you are underutilizing your equipment, that is a huge problem. And if you remember how stressed Elon was in 2022, bringing up Berlin and Austin, he's called those factories furnaces. And that was the big thing, which was huge fixed cost. And they're still ramping up the CapEx, they're still ramping up the people. The output's very low. The cost structure is through the roof. And you feel everything when you're in that your own internal manufacturing, vertically integrated supply chain and relationship. But when everything's running and you've got plenty of demand and it's very predictable, it is the lowest cost solution. And it's also the quickest solution, both to get to ramp up, get to production speed, and also to implement changeovers. And that's what a lot of people don't talk about. Part changeovers is a lot of what Tesla does is every few weeks they're putting changes in to make the product better, to take their cost structure down. If you're doing that through a typical supply chain network that's non-vertically integrated, again, number one, they're going to pocket some of those savings before they pass it on to you. And two, it typically takes longer. There's just longer queues. You may not be at the top, their top priority. So there's a lot to what he said there about being vertically integrated and doing everything there. That's a big deal. It's a big deal, especially when it comes to tariffs, localization, trade war, even natural disasters when they occur. Your suppliers aren't necessarily impacted. Now, if your factory is impacted, it's a bigger deal. But there's just so many reasons why being vertically integrated is the way to go, and it's why Elon says that the factory is the product. We'll get more into that.
Yeah. I've been learning a lot about the vertical integration benefits from you over all the shows we've been doing. But as I learned this history, Henry Ford, when he first created the factory, right, the first automated factory, they were very vertically integrated. They were even more vertically integrated than Tesla is at this point. But in the 80s, suppliers, car factories in the US started to outsource everything, specifically automakers here, right? Because they were competing with Japanese, and they needed to, best of breed suppliers. And then, of course, they were trying to reduce their, increase their margins so that they can get paid more, the executives. And then it just got out of hand. And so now they're stuck at this place and they're trying to bring it back in. Yeah. But, Tesla decided we're going to go straight off the bat, vertically integrated. Yeah. Let's watch the rest of the video and then a few more things here.
We're not as quick as we are.
Is this machines doing it on this side?
So this is machines doing it on this side. And the Cybertruck is very straight angles. So the body panels have to be very, very precise on how we, on accuracy of where we put the body panels at. So like when we have those kind of applications, like we use a robot to
you want to have
that
a robot.
kind of precision.
But over on this side, we actually have people, humans, who are putting things together.
A lot of it goes down to each station and each task you get to. We do an engineering study and see what's the best way to do that task and the best, we look at ergonomics, we look at like tolerance stack up of parts, driving everything to nominal. So that's what kind of goes into the decision. You see now we have the side panels on the trucks, so.
Oh yeah, they're putting the sign on.
Yeah, starting to come alive.
Starting to look more like what we're familiar with on the roads. More and more of them out there.
So not only does Tesla, we vertically integrate a bunch of parts into our process, build them ourselves, we actually build our own tools.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we have, this wheels-on automation is actually built and designed in-house with Tesla engineers. At this station, we actually will take the tire and wheel off the conveyor. We'll take a picture of where it goes on the lugs, and we will auto-secure it.
It's done. That was it.
Done.
The whole tire's on. That was it. That's amazing.
Can we pause there for a second? So Tesla, over the last decade, they've acquired, I think, multiple. Grumman's the most widely known automation supplier, but they've been gobbling up automation suppliers. They've been gobbling up tool and die shops locally in the countries that they do manufacturing in, and they've also built an on-site tooling shop in Austin. This is so important. If you're making stuff, if you're literally bending metal, you're die casting, you're doing the kind of things that Tesla is doing, you need to be able to build the machines that ultimately make the machines. And that key thing is that interface, whether it's that nest or that fixture that moves and is the shape of it's form factor specific. Tesla does those things on site. I'm not aware of Fremont's capability. I'm sure that Austin maybe could be supporting Fremont, or Fremont's using another facility close by. I know Tesla acquired a facility in Michigan as well. And Tesla's really, it's not, when you walk into a gigafactory, just know that there's another factory behind it that is building the fixturing, building the tooling, doing the changes and modifications, where it's nesting plates and for die cast machines. They're doing that work inside of Tesla, in this case in Tesla Austin. And what Tesla is doing is they're trying to internalize more and more of these tasks. This is the tooling. When you hear that Tim Cook video where they talk about why can't you bring iPhone? Why isn't this manufacturing of consumer electronics? Why can't it just come back to the U.S. in the snap of a finger? This is one of the main things, which is this precision tooling. Now, from an auto perspective down to consumer electronics, there are some differences, but in general, having this own internal tooling capability. This was always a big back and forth, by the way, in consumer electronics. Do you have your own tooling people, or do you just rely on suppliers to do this for you and bring it back in? I was always a big fan of having your own tooling team. And these are some of the, salt of the earth people, these are, the original people I worked with, the original people here before, a lot of manufacturing was transferred out offshore. And, these are people that have tool and die experience. They understand how to build they understand how these various machines work, whether it's, plastic injection molding, you name it, all the different processes involved, die casting of various metal types. These engineers understand that. And there's multiple different engineering types, but it's a really important thing. It's not only having the tool shop, but it's having the people behind it that are experienced, that understand metallurgy, that understand, that have the background in molding various types of materials and so forth. It's the people and it's the actual facility. So there's a factory behind these factories in Tesla, and that's what makes it unique. You can't just pick up a factory and move it to the United States and then say, well, where am I going to get the capability to build all of the fixturing, all the tools, all the nests that I need to bring onto the line to interface with the product? Am I have to go back to China to do that? Am I have to go back to some other country? Am I going to have to, is there enough capacity in the US? Tesla is tying up their own, not only are they vertically integrating their tool shop, but they're also this is an assurance thing as well of, can I do this? Can I do it repeatably? And do I have the bandwidth? I don't want to be in queue behind some other company waiting for a tooling job to get done. So Tesla they control their own destiny. This is part of vertical integration. So when you hear vertical integration, you think of motors, battery packs, building seats, and so forth. Just know that behind it, all the fixturing and tooling to make those things is also part of vertical integration. And Tesla has brought that inside of the company as well.
Yeah. Okay. So factories, and then vertically integrated, and then they're also making their own tools. And you explained that very, very well. And then there's some parts, right, that you want to have automated, and some parts you still need humans, like you said, the kind of that balance between the two. And then the very first comment you made was some things are automatically auto QA'd, right? That's a process that was QAing it on its own. Let's listen to what the employees actually said. She also interviewed 3 of the Tesla employees, and this is John Nelson, Model Y production manager, Ryan Martinek, director of operations, and Leigh Suggs, Cybertruck engineering manager. Let's listen to what they say.
John, Ryan, and Leigh, I'm just going to ask each of you, and we'll start with you, John, to give us your name and your title and kind of an overview of what you do here at Tesla.
John Nelson. I'm a production manager for Model Y. Specifically, I work in material handling.
Ryan Martinek. I'm a director of operations here at Gigafactory Texas. I focus most of my attention on the new programs, as well as our forming lines and our powertrain department.
Leigh Suggs. I work in Cybertruck, General Assembly. And engineering manager.
What inspired you guys to want to get a job here with Tesla? Because I heard that it's been years for all of you that you've all worked here. So Leigh, maybe you can tell me why you initially wanted to work for Tesla.
I wanted to work for Tesla because of the innovation, right? Being on the forefront of pushing technologies forward and really trying to push the boundaries really fast. It's really exciting.
I had been in manufacturing before, always heard automotive was really exciting and fast-paced. And I don't know that I knew too much about Tesla specifically, but what I saw when I joined was, how different we make that really already intense kind of manufacturing environment. It's been really cool.
Vision and opportunity. Tesla's a big company. I believed in what the CEO's mission was, and I wanted to be a part of it.
Unfortunately, when politics gets involved in things, sometimes people take it the wrong way.
Yeah, Herbert, you can pause for a second. So those three gentlemen going from left to right on the screen, I think it was John, material handling. That's another factory inside of the factory, which is, how do you get the material? First off, how do you make sure you're getting the material inbound from suppliers? And then what do the lines need every day, every hour, every shift to make sure that they keep running? So think of that. That's the input. That's you think of the input to the factory, it's the material area. And it's a little factory inside of a factory and just material management. So think of right parts, number of parts, also part quality as well. Is maybe not directly in that department per se in terms of materials management, but it's another thing that's managed in that portion. And in the center, Ryan looks like Tesla's going to have multiple operations directors because they've got a general assembly area, and then they have all the areas that feed into general assembly. So it sounds like he's informing in powertrain. Half of that in a typical car manufacturer, the powertrain thing would normally be outsourced. You wouldn't even be there. So that's another function that's inside of Tesla. And then on the right lay, sounds like he's an engineering manager in Cybertruck General Assembly. So basically, how does this thing go together, and what are the various, how do you design the manufacturing process to reduce process time, improve yield, and drive throughput through the process, and of course deal with quality issues and changes and so forth. So 3 really important people in the process, and it's great that they're able to kind of tell the story. The one thing I did get for the interview, and we can let other parts of it play if you like, it's the culture. I think the culture really comes through. It came through as the gentleman is walking Lara through the line, as well as they talk to these 3 gentlemen. You can tell like there's a singular culture in the company around execution, around they all have kind of a higher purpose. They're all pointed towards a singular purpose, and that's a lot of the battle in a manufacturing facility is getting the culture. What's the culture that you want, and that then drives everything else, I think.
Yeah. And make no mistakes about it. The employees here are different than employees in other companies. These guys are, they're hyped about the future. They're really on board with the mission. They want to do well, and they see lots of potential opportunities. Now, of course, there's these attacks. Let's watch what they think about them.
Crazy, and we certainly have seen that with Elon. There's been a lot of demonization of him, and by a result of that, of Tesla as well. Do you guys feel that, and how has it been? John, have you felt any of that?
I personally don't have that opinion. I've been here for 3 years now. I've only seen the growth and opportunity here. I myself have had opportunity to promote within the company within my first year being here. And in addition, I got the chance to hire my entire team. I've been responsible for hiring hundreds over the 3 years that I've been here.
So there's no worry about, you would be happy to go out and tell somebody you work for Tesla?
100%.
Love it. Okay, Ryan, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great place to work. And honestly, Tesla's been in the news before, the more recent times in certain form or fashion. We're a popular place. We make polarizing vehicles because they're so awesome and the products are so great. And I think that's where the focus is, especially for me. I like to make sure, the team has a direction and things like that. And so when you come in these doors, there's enough to do. There's enough to do to keep these operations running efficiently. And so really I wouldn't say that it even enters, a lot of the thought on the day-to-day.
Okay, how about you, Lei?
No, I would say I haven't really felt any effects of any of that. We're very goal-oriented here, and we drive, challenges, and we push each other, as a team, and so we're all goal-focused, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, so I wonder, that it sounds like they're saying, I'm just focused on what job I'm doing. I'm not being affected by it. Do you believe that? Do you agree?
Yeah, to me, it's the culture there is everything, and it's also the hiring process too. I think they're very selective in the hiring process. They really want people that have done meaningful things. It's not so much, I was part of this group and it's not clear what I did. It's more of, this is what I actually did. And this is how I got, I achieved very unique results, very meaningful results in doing something in a prior career. Or not. It could be something in their childhood and their adolescence, or how they approached a various problem, but they're looking for very, I think, unique minded people that can both fit in this culture and really bring something. So I think that's part of the process. is how selective they are in actually hiring people and really looking for people that do meaningful things, people that are behind the mission. So, yeah, I think they've got a very good, yeah.
Okay. The other thing that makes
most of this stuff, Herbert. I mean,
yeah.
most of this stuff, I think, was this, vandalizing cars. This was invented. This was invented as is something to go after. It was politically motivated,
yeah.
And it was more doesn't infect the employees inside. Like the Elon they know is the Elon they know that what he's trying to do, what he's trying to build, and the opportunities he's put in front of them. So they know he's not evil. They know he's not whatever, all the different names that he was. They know that. So and if anything, they're going to be more informed when they get a question like this. I am happy to see more of the major network. I hope other networks, I hope Tesla opens themselves up to other networks, because this is what you want. When the president talks about bringing manufacturing back to the US, this is exactly what you want. And the fact that Tesla was being criticized by someone in his administration is, I couldn't understand it. This is the level of integration that's in that factory. This is exactly what you want. Again, going all the way from the tool shop, all the way up until, how the seats are made, and everything is managed by that company. This isn't a bunch of things that are just brought in and just a few pieces are put together, assembled, and put out the door. This is the kind of manufacturing that we want in the US. So I hope first off, Fox is a huge network. There'll be millions of people that will have watched these videos, which is great. And I hope someone else, that others pick up on it as well, because this is really a model for how we would want to do manufacturing here. One more statement. The whole thing about can you bring manufacturing back to the US? If Tesla relied on existing processes in auto manufacturing, an existing approach to supply chain design, existing approach to engineering, conventional approach to how his car is made, they would not make an EV profitably in the US. And they would be under the same pressures as the rest of everyone else. And they would be minimizing their supply. It would be they'd be out of business, essentially. They obviously approached it at a completely unique and different manner. And again, focusing on the machine that makes the machine. And that's not just words. We talk through the tool shop. We can talk through other aspects of it as well. But if they took a conventional approach, they would have gotten conventional results and been out of business. So when I see the question get asked of can you make a smartphone here? The answer is you would not make the smartphone the same way you would make it in China. You would change the approach, going from the core design all the way up to the manufacturing methods that are used here. And then you would layer the supply chain in, the supply chain tiers in over time. So we can do more here than we give ourselves credit for. And it's not these absurd things. Well, yeah, you can do it, but it's going to be a $3,000 smartphone. That's absurd. A lot of these commentaries are absurd. And if we applied those same methods, we would not have a Tesla. We would not have an EV industry outside of China.
Great transition, because that's what we're going to talk about next. Okay, your background, explain why it's so important for free cash flow, the factories, their product, and what Elon thinks are the three things that really matter. So not only Elon, but actually I think Jeff Bezos of Amazon said that the only metric you should follow a business is the free cash flow. Everything else, like earnings or revenue, they can all be gamed and figured out, different metrics. It's cash flow. That's what you want to look at. So it started off with this post, or this graph that James Stevenson, one of the better Tesla retail analysts out there, posted. This graph. It's kind of a silly graph. It's a joke graph, and he knows it. Cumulative revenue since founding. Of course, the revenue is going to keep going up, right? Elon then, of course, he replied, and he said, as measured by cumulative free cash flow, that chart will look crazy steep in the years to come. Basically forecasting that the free cash flow is just going to skyrocket. So this isn't just about sales and revenue. It's about margin. It's about cash. We're talking about subscription for the robotaxis and the bots, and it's going to dwarf what you're making now with cars. So James said, oh, look, this is the free cash flow so far, and it looks pretty good. This is not cumulative. This is just cash flow. You can see that in the white goes up and it goes down, and then the gray bar is the capital spending. So they obviously spend more when they make more free cash flow. They're pretty good about that. They're, restricting themselves from not spending too much based on if they got cash in. Then he said, okay, I'll make you a cumulative cash flow because you asked for it. And this is here you go. It's growing quite nicely over the last several years now. This is what it looks like since 2015. And every car maker has massive losses, and that's part and parcel of it. The key is, can you flip it around? Can you turn it around? And so far, I don't think any of the other car makers are flipping it around. Rivian, Lucid, they're just burning cash, and so far they have not shown they can flip it. If they can flip it, they can then be able to turn well. And how do they flip it? Well, you have to think of the factory as the product. And then Elon has repeated this several times. A Tesla factory, especially our next gen Cybercab line, is the product. Autonomy and Optimus are what matters. Alexander Mertz basically said this may be the moment when Tesla's factory building skills must become a product with national importance. And Elon said, frame this, read this every day, then read it again. And Elon said, those are what matters. Can you explain what you heard there?
Yeah, I mean, Tesla and Elon are making manufacturing relevant. And I can't tell you for 2 decades in my career how much of an afterthought it, again, it was in multiple companies too, Fortune 50 companies too, which was everything was focused on product, everything's focused on engineering, and then let's go figure out some way of how to build it. Now, there were very smart people I worked with in product and engineering that thought much deeper about it than that. But in general, if you got to the senior levels of these companies, the manufacturing IQ at the CEO level, at the president level, for the most part, was fairly nascent. Again, with few exceptions, nobody like Elon. I mean, not even close in terms of his understanding. His is all learned. It's not like he had this career. If you look at his career prior, it's in banking, it's in the internet, and so this was all learned over a period of time. And as he's making decisions as kind of the chief product officer of the company, he's thinking about how this thing is going to go together in the factory and how to stay in this mold of basically turning the factory into the portfolio. People talk about their roadmap of products, and you see this roadmap that goes out 5 years. Tesla thinks about manufacturing and the roadmap of manufacturing products. So that's why Unbox has been on the roadmap for probably more than 5 years in terms of how they're going to make an automobile. And I believe it's how they're going to make Optimus as well. What makes Tesla unique versus other companies is there's a roadmap of literally their manufacturing footprint and their approach to manufacturing. And this is how they got to this very high percentage of localization. It's greater than 95%, I think, in Shanghai, greater than 91% in the EU. And then in the US, it looks like the numbers are even going higher. We're seeing numbers all over the place, definitely in the mid 80s. But it could be, as if you include U.S. and Mexico under that trade agreement, it could be much higher in the low to mid 90s in terms of content. And that's a roadmap decision. You just don't come into work one day and say, I want to build more stuff here. You have to layer that in over time. You have to make engineering decisions. You have to make product decisions. You have to make supply chain decisions for how this thing is together. So I believe at Tesla, their factory is there's different versions of their factories, just like there's different versions of vehicles on the roadmap. There's different versions of factories, and what they're thinking about with their factories is really the output per square meter or per square foot of the factory, and how do you maximize the output, and then how do you reduce the cycle time to the point. If you keep driving that cycle time closer and closer to zero, it's going to get to the point where you can't even see. There's going to be so much product coming out of the factory so rapidly. You're going to need a strobe to see, to actually see product that's going to be coming out so quickly. And that's very unconventional from other automakers. Remember, other automakers, especially unionized, there are incentives to not make things overly efficient. There are incentives to drive headcount up. It's so antithetical to how Tesla runs manufacturing and supply. It's the exact opposite. That's part of the part of the problem I have with unions. Could be good if they just changed their goal structure and they were more focused. They were jointly focused on efficiency as well as their other operating metrics. It would be great. But when you have things that counteract efficiency, if you look at the port negotiations, for example, for the port unions, the actual cargo ships and the unloading and loading of those at our various ports, they literally killed port automation in that. And that's to keep level loading of headcount and to drive that up as the business goes up. They drive headcount up. And that's what you don't want in these operations. So when I see Tesla versioning their factories, I still see a highly automated, conventional robot automated factory unboxed, but then I can also see them over time overlaying how Optimus comes in. And Optimus to me for Tesla is not only a labor play, but it's also going to be a CapEx play for Tesla as well. It's going to make their CapEx more fungible. So anyway, the factory to Tesla is as important as the product. It may be even more important, because if you can't get that output per square meter up, if you can't get the process times down, if you can't get your cost structure down, then there are no product. It doesn't matter what pretty products you put on the roadmap. So Tesla ties the two together. And if you look at some of the other auto, this is why they're struggling. This is why the other auto companies can't make an EV profitably. And now the mask has really come off of the other auto companies, because what you're going to see is what percent of their content was coming from outside of the US. Final assembly was just over 50%. But if you do it as a percent of content that's actually inside of the vehicle, some estimates are close to 70% of the content that's coming from outside of the US. So the mask is off now. And the question is it looks like the president's going to be pretty hard set on the 25% for final assembly. That's going to cause a lot of consternation. So if we reset the decks now and start looking forward and then go back to the cash flow commentary, yes, Tesla is going to get a lot of cash flow from autonomy, a lot of cash flow from humanoid robots and doing that. But I also believe they're actually setting up their hardware business as well to get back into even greater cash flow generation, whether it's automobiles, it's energy, it's building bots. And I believe those will do very well as well. Remember, the landscape is changing in the second half of this year. This is what you turn on CNBC, you turn on Fox News. I don't hear an analyst talking about 4 of the top 10 EVs sold in the United States were imported. Where's that volume going to go? Are people just going to stop buying cars? Well, if the consumer is still good, which is what we're seeing in the most recent data, people are going to keep buying cars. They're not going to be able to supply them with a 25% tariff, nor are they going to be able to move the factories overnight. First off, moving a factory is not just moving a factory. You have to get the economics right to be able to build in the United States and be successful. You're going from $6 an hour labor to $50 an hour labor. You can't just move the same factory to the US. So I don't think enough analysts are actually talking about this. They're so focused on 1 month in 5 countries in Europe or 1 month in Q1 when they're literally changing over their factory on 2/3 of their production volume, the Model Y, and they're not really looking ahead. And us as in a lot of the bulls are just, it's all we talk about is robotaxi, all we talk about is FSD and humanoids. And I think it's appropriate that that's a large portion of the conversation. All I'm saying is the landscape is changing, and it's not only a US thing. I think in Western Europe as well, these auto manufacturers are going to be weakened by not being able to export to the US. BMW, Audi, Volkswagen, they're going to have serious issues as it relates to this market being cut off for them. So let's see how the tariff thing plays out. I think there's going to be a residual tariff at the end of all this. It may not be 25%, but I think there will be. But I don't think enough analysts are actually talking about the landscape for Tesla actually looks really, really bright, because they're introducing lower cost and more vehicles, and their competition is going to have a little bit more difficulty competing with the current geopolitical environment.
Yeah. Okay. Well, back to this, which is make great cars, make lower costs, and they do both. And that's how you do it. More cash flow. You talked about vertical integration. And the final thing that happened this morning, wanted to share this, is Joe Tegmeyer pointed out that there's these new images that he found of these, what looks like to be, and he goes, what I'm hearing, sometimes he hears better, front and rear Tesla Cybercab castings at Giga Texas. The numbers are growing rapidly near the casting machine section. So you can see these are the castings. It's different than what we saw last week. These ones look a lot more like, different. So they look like the front possibly. And here's a good example of the Cybertruck example, the Model Y, and here's the new front castings for Cybercab ? But according to Joe, he thinks it's correct, right? So Cybercab is revolutionary in terms of the unboxed model, how they're making it 50% less cars, even more automated than previous. So they just keep one-upping the game.
Yeah, and the number of castings you see, remember, they're in the engineering phase of the program. They've got to send some off to crash testing. They've got to send some off to reliability testing. They've got to send some off to road testing. They've got to send a bunch of them to the engineering lab for electrical testing and analysis. They've got to send some to various other labs. And then the manufacturing team needs their cars too for teardown and rebuilds. So don't be too, and remember, there's going to be yield. It's not like every casting is going to make a perfect car. They're going to have issues. So I'm not surprised by the numbers. It's great to see, and it tells me that they're getting closer to production start. But I'm not surprised to see the numbers at all.
Okay, well, fantastic show today. Really appreciate you. Your background is nothing. No one can compare to what you were able to share here today, especially the whole the theme of what we covered today. Appreciate you, Jeff. Follow him on his X account at the Jeff Lutz. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.